President Trump's deportation campaign is going to expand this year, and we're getting new information nearly every day about what that will look like as we examine what exactly happened in 2025. ICE and Border Patrol have a massive amount of funding they are rapidly trying to spend, some $170 billion through 2029, thanks to the president's One Big Beautiful Bill. That money is being used to hire more personnel and open more detention centers. But who exactly is the administration targeting? When President Trump returned to office last year, he pledged to go after violent criminals. But an analysis by the Washington Post finds government data shows that more than 60% of the people detained in at-large arrests since June did not have criminal convictions or pending charges. Joining us now is Drew Harwell, technology reporter for the Washington Post, and Alan Orr, immigration attorney and past president at the American Immigration Lawyers Association. Thanks to you both for joining us. Alan, just this week, Border Patrol Commander at Large Greg Bovino posted that if you think we're done with Chicago, you better check yourself. Also saying, we're going to be here for years. What do you expect to happen this year in terms of the administration's expansion of their deportation campaign, especially in communities like Chicago?
So we look forward to this broad overreach, and what we're seeing, and I think it's important to communicate, that we're not concerned that there's a lot of people picking up undocumented. It's also taking people who have legal status and making them be undocumented. So this fluidity between being documented and undocumented and the sort of focus on numbers rather than justice in the system is a corruption of the immigration process for the United States. So we're really wondering how many civil liberties will be at risk, and due process is already fallen by the wayside in most immigration cases.
Drew, you have some new exclusive reporting on the $100 million, quote, wartime recruitment push that ICE is making. Who exactly are they targeting in this recruitment and how?
Yeah, I mean, they're paying a bunch of money to online influencers, social media ads. They're geo-targeting attendees of NASCAR races, UFC fights, gun shows, military bases, really trying to target, this crew of people they say are true American patriots who want to, repel foreign invaders, their words, and really framing this as kind of a wartime surge hiring strategy. And in this reporting we found they're really focusing on long-term, heavy, intense hiring and recruitment that would basically almost double some of the departments inside ICE that would be devoted to mass deportations and grabbing people across the country.
It sounds like they have plans to go well beyond those 10,000 initial ICE agents that they wanted to hire. Alan, Stephen Miller, as you know, set a 3,000 immigration arrest quota earlier this year. Arrests have fallen well behind that. They haven't hit the 1 million deportations in a single year that they said they wanted to. What do you think this new recruitment approach signals about the administration's tactics, especially as you alluded to earlier when it comes to targeting legal immigrants?
Right, and I think that's the primary issue that we have here is a funneling of money. So we really need to do what lawyers do best, which is to sort of follow where the money is coming from and where it's going. And this money is being funneled to private companies and to individuals who perhaps have this wartime sort of corruption that will only backlog the courts. So what you've seen is this increase in ICE officers, but not an increase in the courts, which means that we're funneling basically detention, which are basically profit centers. So we're not looking for a resolution. We're looking for a transfer of public money into these private companies, and none of it resolves immigration, because we were looking to resolve immigration. There'd be legislative reform that would also give many of these people who have rights some relief under the system. And that's not what we're seeing across the board. We're seeing that ICE officers don't really last for more than a year because they don't like the job. It's a high-risk job, and they're taught for criminal enforcement when in fact they're doing a lot of civil enforcement and family separation. So it is basically it is built on a plan that's really going to erode rather quickly for this administration.
Drew, also in the Washington Post, some of your colleagues have a new analysis that found that the Trump administration's mass deportation campaign has led to a significant change in strategy as federal officers shift away from focusing on arresting immigrants already held in local jails to tracking them down on the streets and in the communities. This comes after your own reporting about how ICE has raced to satisfy the White House by pumping out videos of confrontations and arrests, this social media campaign that we're seeing. How much is this about intimidation and getting people to self-deport versus actually targeting criminals and undocumented immigrants in the country?
I think that is a big part of it. You know, the ICE and DHS have poured a lot of money into different kinds of ad campaigns. Some of them are about these, calls to self-deport, but their push onto social media has been really kind of staggering because you see, some of our reporting, we found internal messages in ICE where they are dispatching videographers to shadow every ICE operation, raids, workforce enforcement operations, traffic stops, take that video and put it on social media, put it to this, kind of hardcore soundtrack, try to make it go viral, and try to really basically create this government media machine that has, ICE officers on one side and quote unquote the worst of the worst on the other side. Of course, the reality is pretty different than that typically, but you see them really devoting a lot of time and energy to trying to establish that we're going to find you no matter where you are, and trying to basically create a fear factor in the people who are watching this. So that is, they're definitely trying to doing that on the enforcement side, but on the media side and kind of the narrative creation to structure what they want people to see, that's definitely playing out as well.
Yeah, they're constantly posting images of the America that they envision, which tends to predominantly be a white Christian America. And just recently, they posted on Wednesday, the Department of Homeland Security put out a social media post imagining America at peace. After 100 million deportations, there are about 14 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. Alan, how couldn't you possibly achieve 100 million deportations without denaturalizing citizens, including those who are even native born? Can it be done?
This cannot be done. It's a fiction. I think the 100 million is just something for impact and social storytelling. When you sort of said there were 11 million people that were undocumented and they knew that they were all criminals, it's perhaps interesting that they have not deported 1 million people because they cannot find them to deport them. Even with the self-deportations that are happening right now, we see that they're arresting people on buses who are already on their way outside of the country to sort of hamper and build up this number. What we do know is that the 345 million Americans right now are individuals within the country. I shouldn't say just Americans because they're also immigrants. And if you take away 100 million, that sort of boils down to what we see to be the 240 million white, non-Hispanic people that are in this country. So they're sending a different message with this number to some of the people who are like the Heritage Foundation, which is looking to say not only curb undocumented, but also documented immigration. So yeah, it is a fear tactic, and it's telling the world that we don't want you. We already have a 20% visa ban on almost half of the world. 50% of Africa is already banned. So we're saying to the world, we only want a certain type of immigrant to come to the country, and those that are here, we don't want you here anymore. We're looking to remove you any way possible.
Visa bans, refugee bans, potential denaturalization of citizens coming this year. Drew Harwell and Alan Orr, thank you for breaking it all down.